we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts. Happy New Year and welcome to our first episode of the new year and a Purely Arsenal podcast. All four of us back together again, starting the new year as we mean to go on, and with our best performance perhaps under Mikel Arteta so far, I want to say. Got Michael Harris back with me. Happy New Year, Michael.
Happy New Year, Jack. How are you?
Good, mate. Good, mate. Any New Year's resolutions other than Arsenal climbing the table?
Can I come back to you at the end of the...
I threw it at you. The New Year's resolution.
Oh, he's got some news. He's got some news, this boy. Another baby's on the way.
Don't you start with that, rumour.
Don't, Neil. Don't say it too loud, mate. I've only got to think it, and it's like, well, where do you come from?
Oh, I told you you're gifted. You're just so lucky, mate.
That is a gift. That is a gift. I've got Neil Shah with me as well. Neil, welcome.
I'm good. Starters mean we mean to go on, as I say, 2021 and en route to the title and the quad.
Jesus. 3 wins in 3, though. We said we're hitting the corner. I do feel like the turn is there. James changed out of his pyjamas with a late call-up. James, welcome. James Johnstone.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, no, I know I look like sort of the Messiah and a miracle baby, but no, I haven't had any. There's no miracle conceptions where I am, so I will not be announcing any baby on this podcast. If that's disappointed anybody, I'm really sorry. No baby to announce.
That we know of. I'm joking.
Well, to have that done, you have to have intercourse. I mean, I'm at tier 4.
Okay, yeah, following guidelines. That's all you do.
I am. I'm very sensible.
Yeah. Once those guidelines stop.
Oh God, it's the end of the world as we know it.
Now we're in tier 5, and I've checked it. I've looked at it, and I think this is allowed, so we're okay. But we're
in a different country. I don't know. So
they don't have colour tiers here, so we're in purple forever, which means if you survive, you've done well.
You got a distance from bears, let alone people.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I'm more worried about the animals, to be honest. But yeah, exactly. But just keep it, stay in between all walls, never leave ever again. We're here to discuss the 4-0 bashing of Blubber Sam's West Bromwich Albion. He did all he could to stop the game at the start, throughout it. You could see just after half time, he wasn't even watching the game. He was just talking to the 4th official, wasn't he? And he was saying, the ball's yellow, and I can barely see it. And they said to Sam, it's because your eyesight's going, mate. You're 72, so that's why you can't see it. But it was a great game, Mike. 4-0. It was you've got to judge the opposition, but I do want to say, they drew with Chelsea at home. They drew with Liverpool away. Obviously, they are in. We've got tougher tests to come. But certainly, they just about lost to Tottenham. I think Tottenham scored in the last second at West Brom. They were very lucky. So, you judge the opposition, but also, it doesn't matter who we've played. Performances like this have been really tough to come by. Mike, what do you put... fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic performance, especially the first half. What do you put it down to? I mean, changing personnel is one thing, but do you think it's more than that? It's because we've seen it a little bit over the last 3 games, in fairness.
Yeah, I think it's a number of things, like which was the case when we weren't doing so well. It was a number of things in that aspect as well, with certain players and the players that he relied upon who were letting him down. I think just by having the injection of the youngsters, Emil Smith-Rowe and obviously Saka is what he's done mainly, and Martinelli the game before. The fact that they just got this forward momentum. It makes such a difference to the likes of Saka and Danny Ceballos as well. Because I missed the first half. I watched it back afterwards and saw the second half. And just the difference of having those 2 kids making runs forward, made such a massive difference to Xhaka's game and Danny Ceballos as well. I thought he was brilliant as well. He wins a lot of balls for deceptively. You don't think he does, but he does win the ball back a few times. And just having that option just sort of gave us a different dimension. And how long we've been saying it, get these kids in, give them a chance. And finally, it seems by a bit of, fortune with the whole, COVID situation with Willian and David Luiz, Arteta had to sort of play those guys, and stick with them, which is the key thing, because we all thought Willian would have come in and start. But I think it was James that said a couple of months ago, he said, Arsenal, we're going to give someone a hiding. And to be fair, we were doing a lot of hiding behind the sofa rather than actually hiding on the pitch. And finally, we've done that because he's got the players in, which I think James was pointing at, having those youngsters in. And having, definitely Martinelli back, but Emil Smith-Rowe giving those kids a chance. And look at what we've done. We've turned someone over who, like you said, went to Liverpool, got a point, narrowly lost to Tottenham. So I think we see with the results that there's been in the league this year, especially with tonight with Southampton turning over Liverpool, you can't poo-poo any type of result in the league this season, especially this season. So that's a fantastic result for us. And as normal on Twitter, you see people, well, it was only West Brom and this and that, and you can't enjoy a 4-0 win. Do me a favour, but it was the personnel in there, and Emil Smith-Rowe, he's playing like he's got 150 appearances for Arsenal. The way he was bossing it in the first half, and the pass that led to the goal as well to the goal. So long may it continue, and I'm sure we'll talk about how hopefully we'll sort of have him in cotton wool going forward. But hopefully he'll show that he's going to be a massive part going forward for the club.
And you can't forget, with Smith-Rowe, there was talk, I don't know if it was within the club, but there was quite strong talk from relatively reliable sources about a month ago that he might be loaned out again, and it seems so ridiculous now. So credit to Arteta for, I like you, I wonder if it was forced and if it would have happened if Willian was fit against Chelsea and if Aubameyang was fully fit, would we have seen that sort of youthful front 3 or 4? But in fairness to him, since then, I think he's had no choice, to be honest, but he stuck with them. And especially against West Brom, he could have tweaked it more. He only made one tweak to Martinelli, which was, I think, understandable because he's coming back from a longer-term knee injury as opposed to Smith-Rowe, who's had a few little shoulder niggles and groin niggles and things like that, and been back longer, by the way, in sort of under-23 football. And obviously the Ceballos inclusion was quite understandable when he had a relatively poor game against Brighton, but just to rotate that sort of that 2 in there. So I thought that was really understandable. But Neil, what do you? The first, let's go players and talk about them within the game, because there was so many good performances in this game. Also, can't forget that there is no question Sam Allardyce, this was the game that he was looking at when he first got the job. I truly believe that. He spoke about us, wasn't he? He couldn't wait to get a dig in. Spoke about us, but being relegation battlers, and now he's gone in this post-match interview said, no, I didn't say that, when there's literally direct quotes from him saying it. He's also blamed, he voted Brexit, and then he's blaming Brexit for not being able to sign anyone, which is even, the irony is fantastic with that one as well. But he's a laugh a minute, that one. But Neil, just get your point. Let's start with one player who early part of the game. I thought in the early part of the game we started front foot, like Mike said, which is something we've been lacking so often, to start front foot. And I hope that sort of shone a light in Mikel Arteta's eyes in how easy the game can become if you start front footed and it works out for you. I thought Saka was brilliant from the start. I actually got really upset when Orba missed the diving chance, because I think any striker should be putting that away, to be honest. And I thought Aubameyang was better in this game, but I watched it again and again, and I cannot work out how he missed that ball. It was a great ball in by Saka, but Saka's just a ludicrous talent, and we've got a couple of questions on his value and things like that. Neil, Kieran Tierney comes out in short sleeve t-shirt, shorts. I'm moaning about it because I think he's going to get injured, and turns out he has his best game of his Arsenal career. But what can you say about a really old school kind of left back, Neil? I feel, I liken him to like the old school sort of Nigel Winterburn. He's no frills, but what an individual goal, and what 4 created chances in the game, a man of match performance. Neil, what can you say about him, really?
Where do you start with him? Hey, he's definitely old school. He's definitely hard. He's a no-nonsense player, as you say, very old school. There's a lot of people already shouting out the likeness between him and Winterburn, and even talents his talent's almost echoing what we had with Ashley Cole at his prime as well when he played for Arsenal. He's just a sensational player, isn't he? And I still think he should be captain, even at his age. I think he'd do a better job than Aubameyang is. I know a lot of people are kind of defending Aubameyang and saying that, don't, get off his back. Every good striker has a poor run of form. But I just think that it's not that I'm questioning. I just don't think he should be captain. I just think it should be given to a player further back in the field. And I think Aubameyang will soon find his form again. Once he scores that first goal, he'll be up and running, I'm sure. So, but Tierney, my goodness me. I mean, that goal I don't know if you want to talk about the goal, but it just epitomised everything about him. I think he's the one player, along with Saka, of course, but I think he's one of the players that has tried his heart out, even when we were going through really bad times. And I know his game regressed a little bit, but you can't blame him for that when nothing else was happening on the pitch. He's the kind of player like the Sakas, like the Emil Smith-Rowes, that want to drive forward, that are influencing the rest of the team, that we've got no choice. These players are going forward. They're bombing forward. They're trying to get ahead of the play. We've got runners around Lacazette, which is suiting his player. We've got a number 10, which is suiting Lacazette again. And I think Tierney is the epitome of one of those three players that are doing that. And I just think he's undroppable. I think he's a stalwart. He's got leadership qualities. And the way he made that defender look so stupid, he done him twice. And bear in mind, that goal was scored with his weaker foot. And what a goal it was. That's his weak foot. And just, it's unstoppable, wasn't it? And I was watching the breakdown, and Adrian Clark and the guy who was hosted was likening it with Winterman's goal against Wimbledon that he scored. And they were like comparing the two. And he said, and I think quite rightly, Adrian Clark said, while Winterman's shot was probably better, because he really, went through hit that ball through his laces. But he says the whole build-up play with Tierney's, it was just a fabulous individual effort. But it wasn't just that. That is just the epitome. That one example is how his display not only echoed throughout this game, but I think it has done quite consistently throughout the season. And if you remember when he first started before his injury, he was looking really good. He was linking up so well with Martinelli. His crosses are on point. And it's nice that we've got the balance now with Saka on the right and him on the left. And we've got crosses coming in from both directions, because we've always kind of felt that one side is slightly stronger than the other. And Arteta, I know you were saying that, you give him his dues because he's been kind of forced to make these changes. But one change that he has made without force is putting Saka on the right. And I think it suits him perfectly. I think we've got great balance. And here's to going forward.
Yeah, and in fairness to Arteta with that, and I give him credit because I've given him pelters, that was something that he really decided to do even last season. And it didn't work a couple of times, and we weren't really keen on it. And then I think he did it against Wolves away, and maybe we started to see something from it. He was filtering out to the right a little bit in Wolves away. I think Pepe was playing too. And then Leicester at home was the one that I really remember, where he created that goal from Aubameyang for the first 45 minutes, where we were really, really good in that game. And then he's gone back to it again. I want to get to Saka as well, because I do think it's between him and Tierney for man of the match. What we also have to remember with Tierney, James, is he's not really played left back that much, because we've been playing in a 3 and he's played left centre back since December. He's has the most creations out of any left back in the league in terms of creative chances. Since the start of the season, he has 20 creative chances, 21 to Andy Robertson, 22 to Cancelo at Man City. But again, he's been playing left centre back for about half of this season minimum. So you have to look at those chance creations and say, what would it be if he was actually playing left back for the whole time? So I think he's been fantastic. I thought he had a little drop off a few weeks ago where he just almost looked tired, because he's like Martinelli, isn't he? He's all or nothing, isn't he? There's one pace and one pace only, and he goes both ways, and he's non-stop. But his celebration, James, was really interesting. He just looked like he was so elated to contribute to the team like that. And Arteta alluded to what Neil said, that, he's basically captain material. If it was up to Arteta, he probably would be able to change it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the guy was agged off before the game even began, because he obviously, like most people that are Glaswegian, watched the derby in the morning / early afternoon, saw the result, and he was full of rage, because I think Celtic pretty much I think they're 22 points behind now. So I think it's pretty much, I can't see, if Gerrard slips that one up, then there really is cause for concern with the guy. But yeah, so he was probably full of piss and vinegar at that, losing that, watching that result. And yeah, I like the fact that he had the audacity to just go, do you know what, I can easily slot one of you in, but I'm smashing this, I'm hitting this, and I'm hitting it hard, and I'm hitting it into the net. And it was just sort of a, you know, war cry sort of celebration, wasn't it? With all the snow and everything, he sort of looked like one of the people out of Game of Thrones or something. It was
He just climbed Everest.
Yeah, it was quite a celebration. No, he's a class player. I mean, yeah, I've been critical of some of his performances. I think he's been a bit lackluster, but when you're in and you're out like that, you know, when you're centre back one week and you can't really create, and then you're asked to create, and then, so when the roles vary, it's sort of hard. But it's been nailed a back four for quite a while now. I know we've slipped back into the five in some of the games, but majority of it's been a back four, which everyone who, when we signed him, knew the qualities that he had and everything else. And I mean, you talk about the weak foot as well, Neil. Yeah, that's a skill. But at the same time, he has scored goals like that for Celtic for years. He has scored better goals from like 30, 40 yarders and smashed them top bins and everything. So he's got it in his locker. I mean, he's took a few. Was it Leicester last season or someone? He had a crack from quite far out and they just tipped it over the bar. Or it hit the bar.
Yeah, he's had a couple. He's scored one other goal for us, but I can't remember it for the life of me. But he has scored once before.
Was it Europa League he scored?
It might have been, because I don't remember it. So
yeah, but no, he's a top tier player. Like, and the thing is everyone else, like I think, you know, Mike, you alluded to it earlier. Everyone else gets a lift from the injection of all these, because he did the interview with BT before the game. And he was just saying, like, oh, you know, me and the kid. I'm like, well, you're not old yourself, mate. And he's like, yeah, me and the kids are doing. But
just so experienced, isn't he?
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? They all just sort of lift everybody. I mean, you said about Saka now. What more can you say about the? You know, I said it last season. The guy can piss through a Cheerio and not get it wet. You know, he's so skilled.
I mean, it's really
just everything that he does. Yeah. He's just brilliant in every single way. I mean, I was going, I want to rest him. I was worried. I was like, don't play him in this. Especially when I saw the snow and the ground and everything. I thought, well, don't risk him in this. Because, and I've said it before, and I hate repeating myself, but Michael Owen, you know, I'm not comparing them as players before people jump in and go, oh my God, they're totally different. Michael Owen played too often in too many high-risk games. And then when he got to the age of 29, 30 and everything else, he was ruined. He was absolutely ruined.
Wilshere.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a ton of them. But Michael Owen's the main one that sticks out in my head. Yeah. And I look at Saka and I'm like, you've got to man it. So
yeah, well, I had a discussion. Sorry to interrupt. I had a discussion about that before the game, and everyone said you got to rest Saka, and I was like, I just looked at the fixtures, and I was like, we've got literally a full week, and I actually think we should rest him for the cup. And I was like, oh, I'd really like it. I thought we really need him. It was so that right-sided berth has been such a problem for us.
Yeah, really.
And lo and behold, logic told you just play the guy that can play everywhere there, and it'll work. But also, what we saw in this game was, and I want to get Mike's thoughts on the second goal, and I'll come back to you, James. But I mean, you can talk about it for as long as you like, Mike. But it's really an Arsenal-like, well, ever since Wenger, really. That's an Arsenal-like goal, and it does give you so much more pleasure to see goals like that. And when it's coming from all your youth players that have been with the club since they were, 8, 10 years of age, I think it gives you even more satisfaction in a way. I mean, I'm sure, like all of us, you're jumping out your seat for it. But it was a fantastic goal, Mike, wasn't it?
Yeah, goal made from Hale End, I think. I think, was it James, you said that it wasn't featured on goal of the month or something, that goal, was it?
No, his one against Chelsea.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And that one as well. One as well. That's a joke. That's an unbelievable goal.
But yeah, just brilliant. Just the movement, the confidence, the people moving in the right direction. Even the little bits that, again, Emil Smith-Rowe did, just that pass, just having someone in that position. I think you said in the last pod, you guys said, just having somebody there, who's going to be, who's just going to make the opposition think. And make our Lacazette think. Lacazette's been reborn now, just having that person in that sort of radius around him. But a brilliant goal. I think they talk about being a third man run. Saka making that run as soon as he's given it back. Lacazette's made that run. Saka's just gone. And it's just simple. It's just effortless. And long may it continue. But again, we have to make sure we treat these guys. Wrap them in cotton wool. Saka, as well, especially him, again, he's another, he's playing like a veteran, isn't he? The way he's picking up the ball and just making, these deep runs. And again, that chance he created for Aubameyang, just amazing. Something you can watch over and over again. But, and I think, again, it's just that having those, we said, Danny Ceballos and Xhaka aren't the right guys in there, and they'll eventually be replaced. But it just shows you the different, the mindset of the team. Just having players in there with that mindset who just want to go forward and express themselves. I think it's got to the point now that whatever Arteta thinks or whatever Willian does, he can't chuck these guys back in because they've let him down so much. They have to earn it. So when they get their 20 minutes or get their 30 minutes, whatever, or get their chance in a cup game against Newcastle, possibly, they have to, deliver, serious performances to even consider taking the places of these guys. Because for me, those guys are first teamers. They hold the keys now. So. And he knows that. He knows everyone's seen it, because how can you justify it? You put these kids in, they turn the corner, you put all that emphasis and rely, that faith in those senior guys, and they let you down. You can't put it back in the face of these kids who've done the business for you. So just amazing goal, Jack. Amazing goal.
Another caveat I'll add to that is that the kids that are all coming in. And I sort of disregard Martinelli because he was a new signing, but he's just generational anyway, in my opinion. But they all are like intrinsically in sync with each other when they play. Whereas Willian, who's come in, even though he is new, he's got no telepathy with any of them. Apart from in that Fulham game where he was sensational, man. But since that Fulham game, it's like obviously, he is new, but it's like he's not even played football before he's come to us. It's just he's got no link with none of them, and all the teams are all just together, aren't they? Like they know what they're doing.
It's like that. It's like FIFA teams, isn't it? It's like the chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah. Like he'd have a red line, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He's written the green lines. He's written the green lines, mate. Yeah, 100%. But they're all just. It was like watching Arsenal of old, like you say, and Dennis Bergkamp, Perez, Lumba, they knew where to run because they knew before Dennis Bergkamp even has the ball, he's going to make the next move. He's just a master. And, in the lockdown, I've been watching a load of my old school wrestling, and I've been watching a lot of Bret the Hitman Hart, who was he was the excellence of execution. That is Emil Smith-Rowe. Emil Smith-Rowe is the excellence of execution. That guy, all you Ozil stands. He's got more assists in one game now under Arteta than he has in the whole time that he played under us. So you can all back off now, because there's the new number 10 in here now, and he ain't moving until we sign another one.
Yeah, which we hope we do. Yeah. And we're going to get to the transfer window stuff where we had that discussion. But I think the question here, Neil, with the youngsters is Saka's already. I think he's already. I'm touching wood here, but has proved. Which is the hardest thing for a youngster, his ability to be consistent, right? You talk about 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you get performances from them, but do you get the consistent performances from them? And my argument for Saka being elite was, I think in the last year he's been incredibly consistent, even when he's played left wing back or right wing or left. I think he's had obviously has the odd bad game, but in terms of a senior player, he has been probably our most consistent attacking outfield player. And I think it's really hard to argue with that. The argument then, though, Neil, is can Smith-Rowe and maybe Martinelli, can they be as consistent as they have been over the last sort of 2 or 3 games? Certainly someone like Smith-Rowe who hasn't played a lot of football because of injury. And we know his talent, and if you didn't know his talent, or people didn't, they're seeing it already. He was the trigger for that second goal. Bellerin did great, but the game was at walking pace, and then click, he went, and he's the trigger, and he follows his run. Whereas someone like Mesut Ozil currently, even if he makes that first pass, he would stand still. I know he would stand still. 2 years ago, Mesut Ozil probably wouldn't. But he makes that first ball, Mesut Ozil would not follow the run. He would not follow it. I know he wouldn't. And I think that's different. But yeah, my question, Neil, is can we get the consistency out of 3 youngsters like we've got out of 1 in Saka? And I think that's the biggest challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just touching on Ozil there, I think where he did follow up his runs, that's when he was playing out of his world. You know, there's a few odd games where he was amazing. That's when he was running. And that's, I think, with Smith-Rowe, he's just fast and he's quick. And he doesn't hold onto the ball very long. He just thinks very quickly and he moves it very fast. And I think that's the key to the success, getting ahead and helping Lacazette. I think Lacazette is the unsung hero of that match, to be fair. I think he deserves some accolades as well. But with the youngsters, I don't see why not, Jack. I really don't. I think Emil Smith-Rowe, certainly. The only concern is, but then I guess that's with any consistent players, is the worry of injury, especially with players coming back from injury. But like you alluded to earlier, with the Smith-Rowe, it might be a little bit different as opposed to an injury, say, where you've had a bad leg injury, I guess. So I don't have that worry. I don't think we should overplay him at the same time. And that's why I think, you know, this question of maybe getting another AM in or who's more senior might be the answer. But like we said on the last pod, I wouldn't want that to curtail his chances. If we can balance them and he gets a good run of games, because I think we haven't seen the best of him by far. I think he's going to get better. The only way he's going to get better is with game time. So that's the dilemma I think Arteta's got now. Yeah, I can get another AM in to help him and take the load off him. But then if that AM shines from day one and becomes like, oh my God, he's amazing, how does he play it? That's the only conundrum for me. Martinelli, again, I think his only issue is going to be how much faith Arteta has with Aubameyang. Now, for me,
what do you think about Aubameyang in this game, Neil, if you just want to give me a little bit of an opinion?
I think he was better, like you said, but I still don't think he should be starting or he shouldn't be playing the full game, because the main thing with him is scoring goals. You said it yourself. How many times? You don't think he's a great footballer, but he's a great finisher. The moment that part of his game is gone, he's not finishing. So where does that leave him? He might have got into a few positions a little bit better and stuff, but like, for example, that first chance where Saka, and by the way, credits Ceballos, that was one of the best passes I've seen for ages. The one that actually he kicked it up the field and Saka collected it. So well done, Ceballos, for that one. But I think he's lacking so much confidence. It's untrue. He's off form and he's lacking confidence. And you saw, I think the only difference I saw in this game is he was so disappointed when he missed a couple of chances where I think in previous games, he's almost like, without being crude, he didn't give a shit. It was almost like, I've just lost interest. But I think now that he's seeing all the other players starting to up their game, especially Lacazette, because him and Lacazette are good pals, and he's seeing his mates score now and getting a bit of the limelight. And I think he actually did care that he missed those chances. But I still feel Martinelli deserves more game time. I think it would be criminal if he doesn't get a chance against Newcastle. I think he needs to start. And I think Aubameyang's got to work his way from the bench to start. And I think only by that, the same thing, with the same logic that I said about Emil Smith-Rowe, I think we will see consistency as long as they get a chance. For me, the 4 key players now are Tierney, Saka, Smith-Rowe and Martinelli, in terms of the youngsters, if you like. And then obviously we've got Partey and Gabriel coming back. I mean, it sounds quite formidable when you think about it. And as I said, I think he's got the balance right between the 2 youngsters on either side. So,
yeah, and he stuck with it and fairness. And I do think, you know, I understood the Martinelli switch for this game. And Aubameyang, I think, contributed quite well to the 3rd goal, 4th goal, where Tierney crossed it in for Lacazette. I think it might have been the 4th. I'm trying to get in the 3rd and 4th mixed up. But I saw a little bit more from him. But like you, I'm still expecting more from Aubameyang. I don't think I quite see the work rate that I was seeing towards the latter stages of last season, and I think that's my issue. If you're not scoring and you're captain, you're giving everything. And they said great on the Tuesday Club podcast. They called it joiner inners, didn't they? And I think maybe James mentioned it on the last one, and he said we've got too many joiner-inners, and at the moment that's what Aubameyang strikes me as. Is he going to be there when everything's going perfectly, and now he can join in? Well, captain-wise, your biggest player, your highest paid player. Not that that's down to him, but I think we have a right to expect a little bit more from him. And if he's not doing it, like you said, should he really be on for the full 90? I'm not sure. In this game, no problem. We'd won the game. It was fine. And trying to get him a goal makes absolute sense because of the rut in a way that he's in. And I think that's understandable. But like I said, the joiner-inners, if they're senior players, that worries me more because those you'd expect that maybe more from youngsters, but those are the ones that are really pulling us through our hardest period that we've seen for some time, And I agree. We'll get back to the transfer stuff on Smith-Rowe because I think, I think he's fantastic. But I don't want it to be he's not doing it today. Who are we going to bring on? Willock, because I don't think it's fair on Willock because I don't think Willock's there. He's not at that level technically. We know that, right? And this is where I get the issue with you've got to give youngsters time, and I do agree with that to a certain degree. But look how quickly you see it in youngsters that are really good. Like Saka, how long did it take for us to know he was great or could be great? Well, it was probably the first game against Frankfurt, wasn't it? And we were going, who's this bloke? Right? Like that. Do you know what I mean? Smith-Rowe's had 6-7 starts for Arsenal. We already know. We already knew before the last 3. Willock has had 60 games for Arsenal. So I'm just my argument is, and it's I don't think it's fair on Willock because I don't think we should have been putting him in that position anyway. And I think he's probably a player that he's crying out for a loan where he plays every week centrally. Because I do think that, and I shouldn't be being harsh on Willock, certainly in this game, because it's not really, and he did come on, and Lacazette, Mike, I said in the last pod that I think he could be key, or the most key senior player. I'm not including Leno, so outfield senior player, till the end of the season. Arteta spoke today and they asked him about contracts and he said, we're not discussing it until the end of the season. I think that's fantastic. Don't even mention it. No matter how good or bad, don't even think about it because it's going to trigger in his mind, I'm 30 years old or I'm about to be and I've got one more contract in me, and the better I play, the better chance it is that I get the wage or whatever from this club or from another club. And I think it could be really key. But is it now, Mike, looking at it, is it fair to say that whether we should start Aubameyang or not is a debate? Is it fair to say that centrally we can't start him at this point, the way we're playing with this front four? And it has to be a type of player like Lacazette because he almost is a connector. And I've never seen that from Aubameyang, that type of player. Or am I being harsh? Maybe it will change.
No, I think you're right. I think he's undroppable now. If he keeps playing like that, and and he's linking the play like he is, and he's getting on the end of chances. Even the one, I can't remember if it's the third or fourth one where it just dropped. The guy almost scored an own goal, and then it went to Smith-Rowe, wanted him to score, and he didn't, and then it went. And it just was there. If you look at the replay. At no point is Lacazette moving. He's just standing there watching it. It's like us just watching the game on the park. But he's like, the ball's dropped there, bang. So he didn't even move. So that's falling his way as well. So at the moment, Jack, no, he's undroppable. You can't drop these guys who have played integral parts for you to turn the corner. 3 wins out of 3. We said at the before we started, a weeks long time in football. Last time I was on the pod, I think we were talking about relegation. I had about few bottles of rum next to me, ready to not sleep and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I got the top on and I'm buzzing. Thinking, look, we're going to do the quad like Neil says. So you can't mess with that. Like I say,
you're still drinking that rum.
I'm drinking something, mate. I don't know what it is.
I've seen that blue drink. It looks fantastic. If it ain't broke, and all that. But these guys have come in, the kids have come in, and Lacazette has shown, and he's backed it with goals. But we're I think in this age of football fans, where we look at, if they scored, that's it. It's all about goals. When Saka first came, he banged in 2 goals in his first couple of games. We were talking about he was like the next best thing since Socrates or whatever it was.
And then once the goals didn't dried up and we saw what he was like, well, ooh, is he really that good? So sometimes goals gloss over things and or what you actually feel of a player. But you can see with Lacazette, yes, he's the goals and he's been an elite goal scorer, for years at Lyon, whatever. But it's his link play, and I think, like Neil said, I watched the breakdown as well, and you can see Adrian Clark emphasised his first touch just seemed to be magnetic against West Brom. He just literally opened everything up for us, and that's where he's got to play, Jack. Not this false 10, which Arteta tried earlier. He's got to be that man at the top, at the spearhead, and you could see he was doing doggies. He was chasing the ball down as well because he's got it back. He's got his mojo back, and Aubameyang, if he does play, he's got to be on the left hand side. And I think he had a better game. He was more interested, he was more involved than he was the last couple of games. And that could be to do with the fitness. You've got to remember that he was out for a couple of games and maybe he's just trying to get his fitness back. Because, when you hit that age and everything, things do drop off and take a little bit longer to get back again. So maybe that's what it is. But he did look a bit more interested than he had been in the last couple of games. So, we'll see. It'd be interesting to see what the lineup's going to be against Newcastle if he does play in that, because maybe Arteta wants him to play to maybe a goal or something, I don't know. But no, Lacazette is undroppable, mate. Absolutely.
In those finishes, how many times have we watched Lacazette in recent weeks where balls like that, easier balls, the one against Leicester, for example, and he's just missed it entirely or he scuffed it. And they look like easy finishes, but they're easy finishes because he's confident now, and and also he's saving a lot of energy. He's not having a drop D. He's not doing two roles anymore, playing one role, which is the role we signed him to play, to be honest. There was always the argument about Aubameyang left and central, but there was never, ever the discussion about a false 10 of Lacazette. I mean, I think, that wasn't right. We shouldn't have been playing that way, or at least temporarily.
Scoring goals away as well. This is his best run, I think, of scoring goals in away games. So.
And that was a huge issue before the Wolves game last season, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And that's another reason why you can't drop the guy. I mean, no. the fourth goal, like Michael said, it's class, because the guy nearly scores an own goal. He gets one full pelt in the dick, doesn't he, from Smith-Rowe, and then he concedes straight after. So it was a good finish, but it was hilarious watching the calamity of it all. I thought,
it's great.
That poor guy. I was like, Smith-Rowe should have just scored it, but he whacked the full pelt in the
Can't wait for Sam Allardyce to get relegated. It'd be absolutely fantastic. But other than
he'll quit before.
Yeah, proper quitter. Yeah, I'm sure. He'll do something like he did for England when he get found out for doing some sort of dodgy dealing. But yeah, I agree on Laca. 7 goals in 10 starts, and amazing what a few games do to. I don't want to keep going back to it, but I think it was poorly managed when he had 3 and 3 and we dropped him with a team so struggling to get goals, and you dropped the guy that got all 3 of them, irrespective of how he got them. I don't think you can put a price on a confident striker that's done it in the past, right? This isn't a kid that's coming in and we don't really know what his potential is. There is a lot of evidence to suggest Lacazette can be quite prolific. I'm not saying Thierry Henry prolific, but I'm saying, he's a 15 to 20 goal a season striker when he's on form. That there is evidence to say that. So when he's on form, dropping him, which was unnecessary for me, I found very strange. Just before we do the fans' questions, I wanted to touch on one player. The midfield partnership. James, are you of the opinion that Partey walks back into this team, even though that we're on a 3-game winning streak? But are you of the opinion that it's quite hard to say who for? This game was a game really for Dani Ceballos. The whole game was ahead of him. There was no speed in transition. The one chance they had was from a poor sort of fall to the ground from Granit Xhaka, in my opinion. Maybe the one on Lacazette was a foul, but I thought Granit didn't need to fall when he had the ball at his feet, and they got a chance from that. But in terms of Ceballos, this is exactly the type of game that he wants. Game's ahead of him. His weaknesses aren't exposed in terms of his transition going backwards. And I think he was the second most creative player in this game with 3 chances created. I would like to see Partey Ceballos in the FA Cup, because I don't think I've really seen it that much. But James, I mean, is it literally Partey +1 though?
Yeah. When we signed him, he was better than any player we already had in the squad. So
he walks back in.
The guy's just levels above all of them. So yeah, he's definitely coming back in. I don't know if you've got it as a listener question, so I might keep quiet for a minute.
I might do.
I don't want to jump the gun, so I might wait a second.
What were you going to speak on?
Well, I was going to say you're asking about the middle, but you'll also have people that will say, will Gabriel walk straight back in? And for that one, I would say no.
Yeah, and let me see. We might have a question on that. If we don't, we'll come back to it. That's a hard one. That's one.
I wouldn't change. But yeah, if you've got it there, then I'll wait.
Yeah, because Mari and Holding have looked terrific in the last 3 games. I think the argument there, that I know, from a lot is one thing I'd definitely say for Mari is I wasn't even sure before these 3 games, is he good enough to be one of a 4? And that was just because I haven't watched him, to be honest. I'm not sure, but he definitely looks like he's there. He's definitely right there, and he's solid and he's trustworthy. The argument from a Holding Mari standpoint is pace. I think that's the argument, and I think in the last 3 games they've not really been exposed to pace. So a Palace game, for example, which I think is the next league game, really would. I mean, they got that Easy, who's rapid, and Zaha. I mean, that would really expose them. And I think, though I understand your opinion, I think it's very 50-50 on which way Arteta will go. Because I think Gabriel is most likely going to play in the Cup, right? FA Cup. So Mari will probably take a breather there, I presume. You'll probably have Gabriel and Luis or something.
I don't know, because I haven't seen any pictures of him. And second to that is, how quickly can you really recover from...
Oh, yeah. We don't know if there's any external effects. We also don't know if he had any symptoms whatsoever. We just know he was exposed. And if his Instagram's anything to go by, I don't know what kind of quarantine he was going through, because he's with someone else every day.
They confirmed he tested positive, though, didn't they?
He had it, yeah. But he's done with the 14-day quarantine now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he should be. Maybe we see something the next day or two, whether he's back in training. If not, though, of course, maybe Mari would start because Luis would take that right-sided berth.
When I watch Mari, I look at him and I know Mertesacker divided a lot of opinions, but Mertesacker had this intelligence of reading, and where he didn't have the pace. Okay, there's that game against Chelsea where Diego Costa and he just lumped him, didn't he? Because he knew he was never going to get there. Yeah. But Mari's got it in the fact where he's like, he reads it so well. And him and Holding in the air, both games have been absolute, especially from set pieces, which we're still the best in the league at, but yet people still bash Arsenal. Well, you can't defend set piece. I'm like, we've conceded from 2. Like, give your head a wobble. But
it's the Brentford guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. But the last couple of games, them 2 have been imperilous when they're headed. They've been fantastic together, heading the ball out and stopping the danger. So I wouldn't change that, regardless of how great I think Gabriel is. And we all know how great he is because he's won Player of the Month. What was it? So they were sharing that meme of Michael Jordan with all the trophies on his own crying. They said that'd be Gabriel at the end of the season with all of his Player of the Month. So.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll probably win it even though he's not been playing. I think it's just the Gabriel award.
It's interesting. I mean, no one would have thought Gabriel going out and we'd question him walking back into the team because he'd probably be our best player, right, alongside Saka. So it's just amazing how things can quickly change
as well. Yeah, consistency quota. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do some. Fantastic performance. If there's anyone else you want to touch on, but I think we've got some questions that might.
Leno was fine. Didn't care about him.
No, it's been terrific. Yeah, and I know people, are hitting me with the old Emmy Martinez.
One, so yeah.
No, he's looked very solid. I like it, and it's nice to see him not so busy. To be fair to him, I mean, he takes some pelters, hasn't he, over the years.
When we don't have to talk about him, he's had a good game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you say with a goalkeeper for sure. But Insight Arsenal, Mike, I think this might be a little bit harsh, but no, he actually rephrases it, Insight_Arsenal. Aubameyang, considering his current lack of form, age and high wages, do you think we could be tempted to sell him if a half-decent offer came in? If so, what would that offer need to be?
Wow. Don't know. I mean... what is he 31? I don't know, probably, something in a range of 30 upwards, I think, for someone like him. But that you're looking at a contract and what he's got left and what he's getting paid and everything as well. So I'd say 30 plus, but I don't know. I'm a bit. I think it is the injury that he's had, but I wouldn't be surprised if something's turned or his head a little bit or something's miffed him. Because for him to drop his head like that so bad, so much in such a bad way, and as captain, and the fact that he hasn't been coming out and speaking out after the games and other people have, I don't know what that's about, and that goes right back to the Tottenham interview. I've mentioned their name, so I've put a quid in. But even the way they dragged, almost like it was against his will. He just did not want to do that. But no, hopefully, with the way Lacazette is playing, and if he gets him scoring again, he'll become, the Aubameyang that we know and love. Obviously, led the last season, and but everyone's got a price, haven't they? You can't say, oh no, he's not for sale. But you've got to look at his age. Well, say 30 and upwards for what he's capable of doing on a good day. But if we let him go, I guess it opens a door for someone else like Balogun if he decides to stay, which he probably won't, or Martinelli to just do the business. So we've got options. We've got options. It wouldn't be the end of the world. How many times we've been in a situation? Oh, we're going to let our talisman go. We're going to let our captain go. Oh, Christ, what's going to happen? Where you see the newspapers, the Arsenal badge, cracked in half, and not anymore, mate. That's not happening. The future is Hale End.
Yeah, I think someone made a good point in, we've got to stop giving big contracts for what players have done, and rather giving them for what they're going to do. And I think that was a good point. I think someone else on another pod made that. But I think that's a good point. And the hardest part will be the wages, of course, because he's on dramatically high rate wages now. So I think that would be the hardest part. But the hope is, he's our captain. Hope is he comes back into form. But like Neil, I think just playing him 90 minutes may not be the best way to get that out of him. When you look at someone like Lacazette, how he's been handled, maybe he needs a little bit of time where he's not starting to maybe wake him up and freshen him up a little bit and change that sort of mindset a little bit. We're getting all the pelters for the elderly in the team. Neil, Nick P81, should Willian be sold this month? Oh no, could. I changed it to could, sorry, because should, I think we'd all answer yes. Could is a whole nother question. I mean, I don't possibly. I mean, no one's taking it. He's on about 200k a week, isn't he? No one's taking it.
He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He's part of the furniture. He's done his bit at Chelsea and he's just sitting happy now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He ain't going anywhere,
his body language bugs me as much as the latter of Ozil. I mean, it really, even when he came on against West Brom, he walks around like he is the champion. And I'm like, but you've not done anything.
And he made a mistake that could have led to a goal for them as well, straight away. I mean, we saw this amazing performance on one hand with Saka. He comes on and almost puts a blemish on the whole bloody thing immediately. I thought, no, man, you don't belong with this club at the moment. Not the way he's carrying on. One good performance against Fulham is not good enough. It's just not. No. And he's just been a passenger. He's on high wages. He's a bloody passenger. I didn't want to put Aubameyang against that passenger bracket because I think it's a bit unfair. But Willian, definitely at the moment, the way the others are playing, have started to play rather, and no, he's not going to go anywhere. That's the thing. But if we could sell him, please get rid of him, get him off our wages, because I really do fear he's going to be another Ozil, and that's going to cripple us again financially. Yeah. There's no point getting rid of the Kolasinac's and the Socrates and the Mustafis if then you got him on whatever he's on and just sitting pretty. What's the point?
Got to stop making these kind of short term decisions, I think, really. But at 11, Kaga, thank you, Nick, for that. Kaga Gelos asked, was this our best performance under Arteta, other than the two, maybe alongside the 2-0 home win against United? I think we all agree it probably was. Most shots on target, obviously opposition taken into account, but I think it really, really was overall. And you can't forget the conditions got really bad in the second half. It kind of limited a good footballing side or desire from that side to want to play. James, Andres Trevino at DreDog8. Thank you, Andres. Should Martinelli start over Aubameyang next game? Love Aubameyang to death, but his body language is terrible, especially with Tierney and that link-up. Would you start him the next game? I presume he means next league game, because the cup game is so hard to judge who's going to play.
Yeah, next league game, no, but definitely this weekend, 100%.
Yeah, and then depending on what he does.
Got to play him this weekend. Neil alluded to it in the last one. It's the trophy that he won us pretty much last year, and he just needs to get the thing is everything's down for him because it's the finishing. And when he, like you've said, when he's not on form and he's not prolific, what does he offer? Well, next to nothing. So all of his lateral movement and everything is coming back. It's slowly coming back, but it's just the finishing and the goal scoring. Because I mean, that one that you alluded to earlier, the one that Saka laid onto last season, he's burying that. And I don't know if it's more confidence. I don't know if there's something there or whatever. I'd love to sit and chat to him and ask him, because I'm dying to know how you can just mentally drop off from such a high to how he is now. Because I'm all fascinated by psychology in the mind and stuff anyway. So I'd love to know what's going through his head. But definitely starting the weekend. But no, against Crystal Palace, no way. No. It's got to be the Laca, Saka, and Martinelli, isn't it?
Well, he was asking about Martinelli. Should Martinelli start overall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
like I
said,
100%.
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree with that. And it'll be interesting to see if he plays against Newcastle, Martinelli, and if he does a big performance there. I mean, got to put the question into Arteta's mind at that point, because if you're taking anyone out of the front four at this point, it has to be the captain. It can't be anyone else. And in our next league,
I'd like to see Nelson, Pepe, and Aubameyang at the weekend.
I think Nelson might be gone. Well, not gone, but I think he might be going. And if he is going, are we going to risk him? Do you know what I mean? If he's going on loan, if he's going to be part of a Buendia deal, or I'm not saying he is. Do you know what I mean? Because he's been.
If he's a makeshift, he's definitely not going to play. So.
Yeah, and because I mean, we haven't talked about him yet, but the real concern over the weekend is where's your £72 million player? You're not even coming on, and after the performances old Steakhouse Dubai boy has put in, he's still ahead of him. So what are we looking at there? Because that is a real investment. I mean, that is a real investment, and maybe you can get something back on that, but no way near what you've invested. So that's if he doesn't start on a weekend, when does he start? Mike. At Ray G Fox, massive long-standing fan of the podcast. Thanks, Ray. Is Holding showing his consistency, his quality with consistency, and I kind of added to that. What do you think of the recent contract offer for Rob Holding? There's a lot of mixed feelings on it. What do you feel about it, Mike? And how do you think he's played?
Oh, it's been top draw. He seemed to, this partnership with Mari has been really, really good. He's probably taken on the sort of the elder statement, because he's been there longer and played in the most games. But I don't think Holding's ever let us down as such. He's when he has made a mistake, he's always bounces back. He's pretty puts his chest out and he carries on. I've never seen him hide or when a goal goes in, he like Mustafi or Louise, when a goal goes in, they're pointing this way, that way. Oh, it's your fault. You never see Holding do that. Holding just gets on with it, and he's a northern lad and everything. They're tough up there, and he's just a matter of fact. Straightforward. I think he's been great. I think with the numbers of in the centre back department that are going to be cleared, between now and the summer, he's definitely going to be one of those that we want to keep, and we deserve to keep him on. And if he keeps on putting performances like, you've got to remember, I mean, Arteta's picked him over David Luiz, especially in the City game, which David Luiz came on and we saw his face. He had a face like someone pissed on his chips or something like that. So and the fact that he was picked on merit over David Luiz, so he's there on form. And again, he's not let us down. We could talk about the performances he's put in the cup finals, going back to Costa when he was a kid, basically. In the Mertesacker final, and I think he deserves his contract. It's a different scenario to what you were saying earlier with Lacazette, because Lacazette's is his last contract as such. So you don't discuss that with Holding. He's younger. You get him tied up and And when he starts playing well, then when, you know, Bayern Munich or Real Madrid want to come in for him, we sell him for 60 million or whatever it was, isn't it? And then you start again. But no, I think Holding, you know, I think he deserves this new contract. And he's been excellent. He's been really good for us.
Another thing to say as well is all these people that moan about him because he can't pass and everything. Who got the assist for Tierney's goal at the weekend? Rob Holding.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. It was just Tierney, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tierney assisted Tierney. It was one-man game, Kieran.
No, Holding playing out from the back.
But I find it weird. I listened to a few guys. I listened to a lot of Arsenal pods. Really upset about the Holding contract offer. He's on 25 grand a week until 2023. This isn't one we're going to regret. If we up him to 45 grand a week, and in a year or two we go, well, you know what, he's no longer a starter, maybe we can move him. He costs $2 million. This isn't one we're going to regret. He's 25.
How can you be upset at him earning 45 grand a week when there's a £90,000 season ticket holder that when he plays, he has the best seat in the game because all he does is watch everything go past him?
Yeah. And he's only on 25. I mean, we could up it to 45.
Yeah, you want to moan at him getting an extra bit of money. At least he plays and contributes.
I think a lot of people look at Holding. 25 grand. I think a lot of people look at Rob Holding and they look at profile and they say, is he a modern day centre back? And he's not, in a way. You know, he's a little bit slower. He's old English style centre back, but you know, not, you know, John Terry. You look at Johnson, look at Tony Adams, right? They didn't have the modern day profile either, but they managed to be pretty successful. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, Mike.
No, just say Arsene said it years ago. You know, sorry, he didn't cost 50 million because people were talking about John Stones and all this and stuff. He's 50, you know, and I can't remember what game it was. Holding put in, but it was outstanding.
Leicester away.
Leicester. Yeah, that was it. Was it the 5-2? When we beat them 5-2?
Yeah.
Was that that season? Yeah. And and Arsene said it even then. You know, sorry, he didn't cost 50 million because you're not giving this guy the credit. You know, he's come in. You know, from Bolton, they got relegated. He was the best player for them. You know, and I think if he, you know, again, it's this modern day supporter, apart from us four, of course, but he's a modern day supporter who, if they're scoring goals, they're the best player in the world, and if they got to cost X amount of million, you've got to throw all the money at them because that makes them good. No, it isn't. You know, you just got to look at what they do when they're on the pitch, and Holding deserves a new contract. You know, he's been, you know, for all of the defenders, him alongside Gabriel, you know, they've been, you know, head and shoulders above everyone else. And like I said, you know, he just gets on with it. He's no nonsense. And, you know, when you put up with the likes of Mustafi and what David Luiz has been doing the last couple of seasons now, you know who we would rather stick with and move forward with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with all that. Absolutely. I think, he's been fantastic. And he's been the one sort of consistent part. I'm thinking Gabriel Mari, if they continue their progression on the left and Holding plus one other, hopefully, of course, it's Saliba on the right. And I think I'd be really, really satisfied with that. So, as one of a four, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to be the star. At the moment, he is, and he's doing very well, but he does that. We can progress from that. You got to remember, we've got Luis leaving, Mustafi leaving, Socrates leaving, Kalashnik's gone. These are all, you know, there are lots of people in the defensive positions that are moving on. So, and that's not in question. They are gone, right? They are gone from the summer. So you know, and Chambers very up in the air, coming back from an ACL tear. Obviously, we know he has qualities too, but we'll see with that one. You know, I want to take this one. We had a @SZ_Guna saying that Barca comes in with a €150 million bid for Saka, sell or keep him. And he linked it to, you know, look at Liverpool and what they did with Coutinho. I tell you what the difference for me is, and it's a fair question, is one, Coutinho, he didn't come through like Saka, right? There's a difference when a player is literally born into your club. Right, so to believe it or not, I'm sure everyone's dream is to play for Barcelona, but this Barcelona currently, a player that's been with us since 8 or 10 years old, I'm not so sure. The wages won't be different. We pay high wages as it is. So I'm not so sure that the desire from the player necessarily would be what it had been in the past with the likes of Fabregas and all these kind of guys going. Secondly, it's just not the time, right? It's in 18 months, if he continues across this trajectory, there's going to, those kind of people, they're going to be jumping in for him, right? And maybe our squad is at a point where you look at it and go, you know, we're so strong anyway, we can move on from, but this is a guy that, you know, we really need for the next couple of years at least. So I wouldn't think about anything like that at this point. But it's a great question in the sense of if we get to that point, no matter which way we decide with it, it's been a roaring success for the Hale End product, hasn't it? Absolutely. When my brother always goes on about the Hale End lot are rubbish. And I mean, you do understand though, even if one makes it to Saka's level, it's been a success for this era, because that is huge, right? And the ones that aren't making it, or are 50-50, James, right? The Willocks and the Eddies, the worst case scenario is you sell them for 10 or 12 million, 15 maybe. That's still pretty successful. You know, I would argue. The unsuccessful ones are the Balligans that will eventually go for free and that have probably been mismanaged, or the ones that just simply weren't good enough.
He's the best kid we've had at this club since Ashley Cole, in my opinion. I don't know if it's the same. There's not been another one that's really... I mean, Jack Wilshere, you thought at the time, yes, but it completely went wrong. But he is, for me, he's the best young player that I've seen at Arsenal since Ashley Cole. 100%. Yeah. No, for me, there's no argument for that whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I just hope he continues on the trajectory. But great questions, Simon. We did have one more from Bernadette about Tierney. So it has to be considered as a captain, and I think we all agree with that. I think we just are saying when would that happen, and when could that happen to not create issues within, more drama that media would love within the club of Arsenal. And
it's be a year or two.
Yeah, give it a year or two, exactly. And I don't necessarily think Aubameyang would mind that much, but no one wants something taken away from him, do they? So it will be difficult. Should we do a little bit, just if you've got 5 minutes on the transfer window before I get predictions? I know I've got James' opinion and Neil, and I think we all decided, Mike, that we're hoping anyway for attacking midfielder of sorts, and maybe a backup goalkeeper. A lot of us were saying probably a loan, right? Because the David Raya thing is still cropping up quite a lot in the summer. I know he signed a new contract with Brentford, but there's still a lot of talk that we're going to go back in for him in the summer. If that's the case, it would have to be a short-term loan. And I think I said earlier, you can only have 2 loans, can't you? As a club, you can only have 2 loans. So we've got Ceballos on loan. Apparently, you can only have 2 loans. So let's say, for example, we got a backup goalkeeper on loan. We would have to buy an attacking midfielder. We can't get another. That's what I heard earlier today. I didn't know that was true. So if I'm wrong, whoever said it on another podcast today...
you can only loan 2 people from the same place?
I don't know. Because we haven't got anyone else on loan other than Ceballos, right? That's our only loan, isn't it?
Bear with me, because I'm on my computer, so I'll...
or maybe you see if anyone else has got more. But anyway, while you're doing it, Mike, what are your thoughts on... We've already got rid of Kolasinac. We've got Saliba's out, and I think we handled that really unfortunate. But what are your thoughts on the outgoing so far and the possible ones that you might expect? I want an opinion on you on if there's a surprise sale this window, who might it be? And... where do you think we will sign this window?
Definitely agree with you guys. I think a backup keeper would be great, especially after we saw what Rumours did in this last performance, and definitely an attacking midfielder, whether that's Buendia. It doesn't seem like it's going to be Eriksen. It doesn't seem like, there's talking about the German midfielder as well.
Julian Brandt,
saying that he hasn't played the last couple of games and what have you. So I definitely think there's going to be one coming in, right to be 2 with another backup keeper. So it's going to be interesting to see who if we're serious, we probably get the keeper done first, because if anything happens to Leno, then we're in some serious trouble, which again just shows you the way we were talking at the start of the season, first couple of weeks of the season, and now we're talking about making sure Leno is wrapped in cotton wool, and I'm sure Anthony would be happy to hear us talking about him like that. But I think, touching on the Hale End aspect of it, I think, it seems like Nelson or Willock will go out the door, whether that's permanently or alone, more likely alone. But I think something's happened with Nelson, because he just hasn't featured at all. And I think Arteta said he may have picked up a knock or an injury, and that sort of knocked him sideways a bit. I think I was reading somewhere. So maybe just to get him back on side, he might get him alone, because obviously if Norwich let their guy go, the top of the table. They don't need to sell. It sort of hinders their run a little bit. So maybe Arsenal can try and sweeten them by chucking a couple of midfielders to help them out. But I would definitely say, as you guys said, the attacking midfielder and a goalkeeper. And I can't see anybody else going. Maybe Eddie might go to Brighton on loan. Who knows? Sorry, James, but he might go on loan just to get him some minutes.
I'll take it.
Just to get him some minutes. Maybe
James wants to sail. He wants to sail.
Maybe again, it's to do with like James said, Basuma or maybe Lamptey. Who knows? And I saw on an account I'm following. I don't know whether I'm going to expose him yet for Fraud Watch, but there's an account I'm following that said Arsenal and Brighton have got quite good relations of late. So maybe he's trying to set something up to say that we're discussing that, and if we are, that's great. So I'd say maybe Eddie, because again I think
grab him by the throat, give us the player.
Yeah, I think I forgot what I was trying to thought now because what you said about Guendouzi.
He's scoring for fun, apparently.
Yeah, he on and off the pitch, isn't he?
I've heard. Yeah.
There's your baby announcement.
He's only 12. How's he married? What's going on?
But no, I could definitely see maybe three or four going out with what's gone out already on loans. And touching on what you were saying before about the centre back situation, I think that's probably why Saliba they're adamant on him going out and playing, because next season, as you said, the number of centre backs we've got have just been slashed, and this kid's got to be ready to come in. But then if you say that, why didn't we register him? Why don't we play him in the Europa League games? Why don't we register him in we could have done that ourselves to a certain extent. So it's a bit strange, but yeah, I think there'll be a few ins and outs, to be fair, Jack, over the next couple of weeks.
Definitely halted him. So a terrible handling of him for the last 6 months, but at least we've got the loan out now. Obviously, it seemed like a paperwork issue or whatever to get him loaned back to Zenit at the end, but really wasted his sort of 6 months of his career. And hopefully he doesn't, think, I can't imagine what he thinks of the club at this point. But because it's not been handled well, it would have just calmed everything down. If he'd gone back for a season loan, you would have gone, well, I didn't expect that, but okay. But the fact that he's been just basically sitting there for 6 months, training every day, but and trying to say that's to his benefit is really hard to understand. But nice that there was rumours about purchase option. Very nice that the intention is to bring him back, and I think we will bring him back. Hopefully he does well at Nice and doesn't have too big an issue. I think they're about mid-table, so hopefully the stresses, he's not dealing with relegation or anything like that. Hopefully he can do quite well and walk into their team. I think they had an ACL tear to their right-sided centre-back, so he should go into that team and start. I presume that's why we're sending him there. So it makes sense. I just wish it was earlier or a few months earlier. But and then great that we got Kolasinac off the books. Fair play to Kolasinac for leaving and actually wanting to play football. That's rare nowadays with these guys on higher wages that like to sit around like Mesut Ozil and sit on Twitch. But that's nice. I do think there's a possibility of a surprise sale. And I would put, I don't think Niles anymore, because we've sold Kolasinac. Niles has to be our backup left back-ish. I look at it and think the surprise sales would come Willock, Eddie or Nelson. And the reason, I know you don't want me to, but the reason with that, I struggle to see game time for all of them, because Willock, literally his position has been taken from Smith-Rowe, and backup position, I mean, let's face it, we're looking to sign in that position, so his game time's going to be even more limited. There's almost 2 players coming in ahead of Willock if he's playing in that role. Nelson's been thwarted by, Dubai boy on the right, and injuries, I guess, and Eddie with Martinelli coming back, and with Balogun literally likely to be on the books for 6 months, whether he's going or not. There's an argument that even if you don't get Balogun to sign, could he play the role of what Eddie's playing for before he goes for free for 6 months? So if you need money, I just struggle to see Eddie getting anywhere near the amount of games he's got in the first 6 months as opposed to the second, unless there's an injury crisis. But James, you are the Eddie.
Now, if you sell Eddie and you don't sign up Balogun, what's the point?
No, I agree with that. The problem is they've got to say the agent.
That to me is just completely selling Nketiah and then not not tying Balogun down is absolutely silly, in my opinion. I just think that's not me even just being a fan of the guy. I just think that's just completely silly. Because then it's okay, all your eggs are in the Moller, the Swedish lad's basket. And we haven't even, okay, he plays academy games and some of them are being shown on streaming stuff here and there. But we haven't really seen what he can do to the full extent. You know what both of these offer you if you use them correctly. I know a lot of people go, well, Eddie Nketiah offers nothing. I like to look at it a different way. But, yeah, I mean, for me, you should be in a room with Balogun now tying him down. Because for however much I like Eddie Nketiah, Balogun's the far superior player. Even I could admit that.
Coming out in the last 29 minutes.
Oh.
I don't know if it's reliable. Eddie Nketiah is in talks with Wolves over a permanent move. 15 to 20 million.
Well,
now,
we do love of a striker for taking one out, didn't we?
I thought Wolves were going to go and grab Diego Costa because they need a Jimenez replacement, and it made sense to me that they would. And I still find it very difficult to believe that I know I'm being hard. I do find it very difficult to believe a side of Wolves' capability would sign Eddie Nketiah. To be honest, I'm thinking more West Brom's. To be honest, but I know I'm being very harsh.
They need someone to replace.
You give him the delivery, he'll suck him. Wolves providing the delivery. That Ruben Neves.
Like a poor man's Franny Jeffers, don't he? I'm joking.
Hey, come on.
He's Paul Dickoff. Let's face it. No, I'm joking.
Jack, there's your Hale End multi-million sale, isn't it? You just talked about it. So if he goes for 15, 20 million or whatever it is, then they'll see that as a... Because we nicked him off Chelsea in the end, so...
Yeah, exactly. And I spoke to my brother about this, and I said, Liverpool sold Ryan Brewster for 23.5 million. He went, yeah, but that's Liverpool. People are going to spend because they're the best club in the league. I went, okay. But Ryan Brewster played 0 games for Liverpool. So at the very least, Eddie Nketiah is near there. You know what I mean? Like, he's played 40 games for Arsenal. He's got a few goals. He's played far more for the under-21s in England than Ryan Brewster has for his international. So maybe we don't get the 23.5 million because we know what we're like around sales, but 15 isn't out of the question. And if you're not, we talk about not being in contract talks with Lacazette, and that is a sign that we probably want to sell him in the summer. Well, Eddie Nketiah's deal runs out exactly the same time as Lacazette's, and there is not one word of a contract talk with him. So, the argument has to exist alongside him, right? Surely. I mean, it's the same length of contract. I think it's been a really fun discussion. Let's do the Newcastle game. I think it's Saturday evening-ish, early evening. I think it's going to be big changes. I think we could make 11 changes, to be honest. I think our squad's we could do Cedric right, Niles left, Luis Gabriel, Partey back in, maybe one other midfielder that's not, but you can put El Neni behind beside him.
I don't want to see Renarson versus Andy Carroll.
Leno has to start.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that.
Leno has to start, but I'm hoping a front three existing of obviously Willian will start, but I'd put Willian in Smith-Rowe's role for this game because I don't trust him at all on the wings. So put him in the area where he runs less. And see if he can be a bit creative at least until we sign someone and truly bin him. But I'd do that, and then Martinelli and Pepe. I think I'd like to see. But Mike, what's your predictions? Obviously, we're the holders, but it's a tough third round draw. But what's your prediction? I think we will rotate quite heavily.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0 and Partey to score.
Partey, can't wait for it. I mean, there is I was watching him in training today. He didn't look like he was really with the full group, but he is back in full training. So, in theory, this whole week leading up to it, he should have a chance of starting for this Newcastle game. And if he does, I mean, I'm really excited to see him because we haven't seen enough of him, really. So, James, what's your prediction? And would you give first scorer, Mike?
Yeah, Partey.
Partey, yes, yeah. Partey. James, go ahead.
3-1 Aubameyang.
So Aubameyang's going to start, is he?
Yeah, he needs to get it back, doesn't he?
Yeah, he might start. I just wonder who drops out in terms of the starts.
Just put him down the middle.
Central and Martinelli and Pepe. Yeah, maybe.
Well, if he's not being sold, I'd do Nelson Pepe, but yeah.
Nelson Pepe. No Martinelli. Oh, because you want Martinelli starting the next one. See what you mean? Yeah. And it's a midweek Premier League game, isn't it? After that, it's not. We've not got another week to wait. So okay, I see your point. We can't play the same play.
Is it Saturday, Tuesday, isn't it? I think.
Yes.
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
Saturday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
So we do have a bit of time. Yeah. Okay. Neil, predictions, first scorer with the holders.
2-1, and I'm going to go with Martinelli. And I'd like to see Ceballos celebrate like he did the third goal against West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah, I like it. He's very, very, very passionate about it.
He on his own, just went on the floor. Oh, I love it.
I'm very curious to see whose party's partner will be, because I don't think any of those three midfielders necessarily will exist in 18 months' time anyway with Arsenal. But for the season, he's got to have one in mind that can work, or maybe he doesn't.
He'll probably play him. They announced that he's not selling him, did he?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been rumours about Torreira coming back, because Torreira, for all his pictures and everything, is playing even less for Atletico Madrid than what he was for us. So the argument that they literally gone, do you know what? I want to send him back. Got to be.
I think they're trying to look for another club, aren't they? They're trying to look for another
Fiorentina
club,
apparently. Yeah. Which makes more sense.
I think after today, he might be gone.
Yes, it'd be interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to verify my.
I think the group will like what he tweeted out earlier. So I think he might be out the door.
Might be out the door. Yeah. I'll go. Neil said
2-1 Martinelli.
I'll go 3-1 and Pepe. 3-1 Pepe. And we haven't had much time to discuss him, but that is a bit of a worry, isn't it, Nicolas Pepe? I'm starting to get a little bit worried that it might not work out for Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal Football Club. Certainly not under this manager. And when you see Saka, he's got quite a good right foot as well, Saka, hasn't he? I mean, he created the goal for Lacazette from his right foot, scored the wonder goal against Chelsea with his right foot. It just really exposes how one-dimensional Pepe is, really, because he can go both ways, can't he, Saka? He can go either side, whereas Pepe, you know where he's going to go, and unless you're Arjen Robben, you're going to get stopped. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be as good as Arjen Robben from that side if you're going to keep going inside. Do you remember it used to go, know which way he's going? Oh, he scored again with Robben. With Pepe, you go,
diver. He was a proper diver.
He was horrible, wasn't he? He was so effective for about 2 years.
Yeah, perfect.
He'd never pass as well. That was the one thing I hated about him. Never seen a more greedy. Arguably won Chelsea that Champions League. The amount of players he could have slid in.
Well, it cost him in the end because he should have won the World Cup and he missed a massive chance and then won it.
It's like playing FIFA without an X button, that guy. Just pass and chip were the only two things he had.
Mental. Boys, thank you so much. We'll be back after the Newcastle game at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. YouTube, go to Purely Arsenal on YouTube. All of these are posted. You see our lovely faces. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Anchor, we're on all those podcast apps. Keep the faith. We win the next 2 league games, I might look at the table. I might have a look at the table.
Title.
Never know. And, Lampard out as well, apparently. Lovely jubbly. All right, boys, up the Arsenal. Take care.
Come on, you are.
Come on, boys. Oh, I've lost the stop recording button again. It's happened again. Oh, there it is.